Yo, what's up everyone? So today I'm going to be talking about the first issue of She-Hulk, to be more specific, the 1980s run, which just so happens to be Jennifer Walters' origin story on how she became, I'm going to butcher this tongue twister, the Savage She-Hulk. Nah, I guess not. This video was going to be me just talking about the first 5 issues of the comics, but when I was writing my thoughts on this, I sort of wrote more than I really wanted to. I figured I'd make this a video on its own, and it's most likely going to continue this way because I like to get into the story when it comes to talking about it. By that I mean let's see how far I get into the comic run and make videos of it. I want to start by mentioning how I like the cover art. It's pretty much a recreation of the first Incredible Hulk comic, but of course instead of it having Bruce and Hulk in the cover, it's Jennifer and She-Hulk, and we got the cowering people in the background. I just thought that was pretty cool. But without further ado, let me talk about Jennifer Walters' origin story. This issue begins with Bruce Banner trying to hide from the authorities that are trying to capture him. He seeks out the help of his cousin that he hasn't seen since they were children, Jennifer Walters. Once he finds her, he tells her about his origin story about how he became the Hulk. Then she invites Bruce to come over to her place and talk about it more. In the process, they are being followed by some hitmen that are trying to off Jennifer, as they say. They make it back to her house, and once she gets out of the car, she gets shot by one of them. This is the part I found kind of funny. In a desperate attempt to mess with the shooter, Bruce picks up the water hose from the ground to try and blind him by spraying water into his face. His reasoning was because that's what he's seen police do to rioters to push them back, and somehow a house watering hose manages to produce enough force to push and blind the guy back. What the fuck? But anyways, Bruce grabs his cousin that I remind you just got shot, and he runs inside of her house in an attempt to hide. At this point, the hitmen run off because they feel like they had made much noise and could get spotted by someone. Jennifer starts to bleed out, and Bruce realizes there isn't time for an ambulance to take her to the hospital. He notices that the house across the street belongs to a doctor. Somehow. I don't know. So he breaks in, and of course, like all doctors, the guy that owns the house happens to own medical equipment. He uses his quick thinking to do a blood transfusion on Jennifer. Somehow, he manages to remember that they had the same blood type from when they were children. I don't know how the fuck he managed to remember that, but hey, whatever. But anyways, after its success, he finally calls an ambulance to take her to the hospital. At the same time, cops arrive at the scene and take Bruce in for interrogation because they believe he was involved in shooting Jennifer. In the police headquarters, he starts freaking out about getting caught over the fact that he is the Hulk. Knowing his cousin is now safe, like a total Chad, he turns into the Hulk and breaks the wall to escape. Later, his cousin wakes up in a hospital feeling weird and ponders the events that had passed, when suddenly the same group of hitmen walk in an attempt to offer, as they say. She suddenly turns into the she version of the Hulk. And this is actually where she gets her superhero name. One of the hitmen is questioning her buff stature and green skin and comes to the conclusion that she is like a She-Hulk. Hearing that, she goes, "You called me a She-Hulk, and She-Hulk I shall be." You know, that corny fucking comic book shit. I fucking love it. She proudly accepts that she's now green and buff as fuck. The hitmen decide to try to run away, so they do that. And once they get into their car, she pulls the street lamp out of the ground and tosses it in a motion where once it hits the car, the tires come off and they can't go anywhere. It's weird to visualize it from how I'm telling you this, but it makes sense looking at the art. Well, not really, but anyways, she pulls off the motherfuckers out of the car and gets them to confess in front of the convenient cops. It seems like in these old comics, cops happen to be in very convenient moments. They confess that they are trying to off her as orders from their boss, which happens to be one of the prosecutors in a case that she's working on. She is defending a motherfucker that was framed by the guy who hired the hitman. But anyways, she runs away before the cops get a chance to do anything with her and hauls ass back into the hospital. And as she's making her way back, she turns back into her normal self, and the story pretty much ends at that point. It's all in good fun. There were some parts, like the watering hose situation, that I thought was a dumb way to write some bullshit to get him out of a situation. It's still fun reading it though. I do like how Jennifer at the end just accepts that she has this power now, so guess we'll see how she's gonna end up using it. Well, anyways, thanks for joining me and talking about the origin of the She-Hulk. I'm gonna be talking more about the next issues in the series, so if you like hearing me talk about nerdy shit, then I hope to see you again on my next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.